Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy! Today I have a piece of London plain sycamore. This was a piece that Valerie brought me. Thank you, Valerie. I truly appreciate that. This is some wonderful wood to turn. I believe this is my very last piece, and it's an odd shape, as you can tell. It's about 3 inches high over here, tapering down to nothing on this side. It's about 9 inches in diameter. I cut it roughly round. I did mount it up once. You may be able to tell I mounted it up already. And it was so out of balance I took it back off and took it to the bandsaw and got it a little bit closer. So we're going to see what we can make out of this. You might hear my little heater running, a little hum in the background. Well, that's because it's cold out here. Now I was watching a video by my friend Billy Burke down there in Texas, and he's saying how it's cold in his shop, and he was crying about 57 degrees. 57 degrees, Billy. That's t-shirt weather, bud. Man, 36 out here this morning. Well, this morning. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. I had to wait until now to get up to 36. Poor baby Billy. So I'm just going to put this back on the woodworm screw here, and then we'll bring up tailstock support just to be careful while we get it rounded up. I don't think we're going to need it for very long. That's got a pretty good grip there. Now you can see how the difference in thickness is going to affect my turning. Going to be just about hitting here and a mile away on that side. But we'll get it done, no doubt about it. Let me sharpen up my 5/8 inch bowl gouge, get my mask and face shield on, and we'll get to turning. Pretty out of balance, so we're going to be right at about 500 RPM. For a while. Okay, let's move over and round it up. Okay, we got it round. We'll go back to flattening the bottom. See if we can pick the speed up anymore. Kinda doubt it. Well, it went past most of the vibration up to about 760. Okay, we'll start taking this corner away. Alright, and we'll put a tenon on here. I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch swept back gouge. And I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge to try and flatten this bottom off a little bit. And I'm a little high on this, a little tall. So we'll waste some of that away. We'll just make a little divot for reference later. And we're ready for sanding. I'm starting at 80 grit. I'm no Kyler over at Wood Turner Kai. He starts at about 320 or something. I'm starting at 80 grit. I'm going to work up through 400, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put some finish on here. We're going to go with Howard Feed and Wax again because I am liking it. It's good stuff. See you in a bit. Well, the sanding went really well. This is just silky smooth. It's such nice wood. If you ever get a chance to turn some Sycamore, take it. And once this feed and wax is dry on here, I'll buff it up and it'll just be even more silky smooth. It's just amazing stuff. And I buy my Howard Feed and Wax. No one's giving me anything. So I'm giving you the honest truth. And speaking of buying it, it's cheap. It's about $7 or $8 depending on where you get it. This is a 16-ounce bottle, and I've had this for probably close to a year. And it's not even half empty yet. I haven't used it that much. I haven't used it a year's worth, to be honest, because I didn't really I didn't know that much about it, and I didn't really have that much faith in it, I guess. And I just got used to doing shellac, which I still will use. I use this in the winter time because shellac takes a little longer to dry when it's so cold. 57 degrees, Billy. Really? 57? You're cold? What a sissy. It's cold out here, man. So what I do is I'll put this on, and then I'll point my little heater at it, and I'll go in the house. I'll actually let it spin about that fast with the heater pointed at it. And I'll go in the house for about a half an hour, come back out and buff it up. I go in there to thaw my fingers. I'll come back out here and buff it up, and then it'll be time to turn this around and hollow it out. See you in a bit. And the way I always do this, I just have that lightly tightened in the chuck. It's just barely in there. Then I bring up the tailstock and drive that live center in, and that pushes that tenon into the chuck nice and tight, well centered. Can't go wrong. Can't do it wrong. Bob's your uncle. See you guys in the morning. No, see you guys in the afternoon. I'll see you sometime. Bye. Well, nothing's ever easy, is it? Now I got this thing sticking out here, and I want to keep this, but that means I can't get too close to the piece with my tool rest. But I'll live through it. I turned the speed on. I got up around 500 RPM and it started vibrating. So I turned the speed on more and more, and the vibration did not go away. But more importantly, it didn't get any worse. So I kept turning it up, and now I'm up to 900 RPM. No, or was it 800? Let's see. 915. And it's not any worse. So I was able to go through and get some decent speed. So I'm going to put my mask and face shield on here, grab my 5/8 inch bowl gouge, and we'll get to hollowing this piece out. We'll finish it up today. Yippee! I can't really see that projection. Let's see. Well, I'm pretty close to it though. Real close, so that's about where I want to be. Oh, about a 1/4 inch in the bottom. Just barely got rid of that hole. That's lucky. Over here, I'm sure I'm thicker. Yeah, about 3/8. About a 1/2 inch up here. So I can't go much deeper. I can go a little deeper here on the edge. Well, it's just the way it's going to be if I want to keep this. That's the shape we got. So I'm having a hard time, it's hitting here and bouncing me around. I'm having a hard time getting a clean cut on this edge, so I think I'll just rely on the scraper. Oh well, that finished up real nice. Hey, what do you know? We are ready to sand. I'm going to start the sanding with my Sandoflex. As you might imagine, some of these points are pretty sharp. And this little devil over here is really sharp. And this is pretty sharp. So I need to smooth those over so that nobody gets hurt. And this is sharp. Plus I just want to kind of clean this up. This natural edge. No bark to deal with, but still, this is what I want to use. I can't sand it with a 2-inch sanding disc because that'll just wipe it out, and that's no good. Yeah, that's much more acceptable, and that's kind of rounded over, so that's better, as is that. So I'll continue with that a little bit and try and even out the color. I kind of like this light brown. Then I'll switch to my 2-inch sanding disc, and this will be a little bit difficult because it's going to want to hit this leading edge right here. And I don't really want to spoil that. So I'm just going to have to be careful. I guess maybe I'll start in the middle and work my way out until I feel it and go back like that. Yeah, I think that's working pretty good. Yeah, that's working good. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next hour or so, sanding. And then I'll put some finish on there. Same stuff I used on the outside, the Howard Feed and Wax. And then I'll bring you back when it's time to take the tenon off. That'll be exciting. See you in about an hour. Okay, I've got the bowl turned around. I've got a non-slip cloth. I guess you can't see it, but it's up against the block of wood inside of the bowl. And we're going to turn here at about, let's say about 600 RPM. And I'm going to use a 1/2-inch standard grind bowl gouge to remove this tenon. I'm going to take my homemade point tool and cut a groove right where the tenon meets the finished part of the bottom here. Just for a little decoration. Also gives me a place to sign. And it looks like we're about there. Yep, that looks good. So now I'm going to switch to, well, no, not quite yet. I want to get that remaining stub here just a little bit smaller. And I want to get a little bit closer with my tool rest. And I want to check for clearance. And I have good clearance. So now I'm going to switch to a 3/8" swept back bowl gouge, and I'm going to place the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl and apply a lot of pressure towards the headstock, and I'm just going to cut that tenon right off of there. But I'm going to do it at a little slower speed. We'll start at about 300 here. Just making room for the gouge to get all the way in there. Okay, so now I just have my right hand on the gouge, slowing the speed down to about 200 RPM, left hand on the switch, and when that little nub stops turning, then you know we're through. Like that. And I'll just take this over here to the workbench and sand this 2-inch area up. Well, there it is, done. One Sycamore bowl in the books. Bowl, dish, I don't know. Ended up being about 8.5 inches in diameter and about 2 inches deep. I love this part here. Turned out way cool. And the bottom finished up nicely. I'm pretty happy with it. If you like this video, thumbs up please, I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly, I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. If, for whatever reason, I might miss a week, believe me, it's beyond my control. I prefer not to miss a week, but there's some stuff going on that just might require me to do just that. Leave your comment. I truly love reading your comments and I reply to all of them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.